What do you say, Libby, to the young, particularly the young woman, but the young person who is maybe in one of your classes or you encounter in some other way, who is looking at options? What do you say about politics to them? How do you reflect on that in terms of both an avocation as well as a vocation?
First of all, I would try to encourage them to do whatever they want to do that they care about with a passion. But we do, I mean, this sounds sort of, I don't know, hokey or something, but we do live in a democracy. And if we're going to make that democracy work, it's really important to impact those entities that do it, whether it's city council or school board or county board of commission or drain commission or whatever it is. Those are very important roles that need to be played, and we should take them very seriously. And for someone who doesn't feel like they want to run, just to be in there to support, to make that person more honest, to make sure the person that you think can do the job gets elected. Because I don't think, I mean, I still go back to what that teacher, the exam she gave us, that an existence, of a nation is a daily plebiscite. And so that's really what it's all about. And I keep telling myself I'm going to go up to a rock somewhere and meditate, but it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see. But I really do encourage them, because I think with all the nastiness, and that's one of the things I worry about today, is there's so much nastiness, that I think it is an honorable profession if you choose to make it that way.
As we look at politics over a number of decades now, and you've lived in the midst of it, how do you evaluate what we are today experiencing? Does it seem more divisive? Are you seeing a different, not only the role of women, but is politics done differently? Does it feel different today?
There is a lot, I think, more nastiness than there was when I first got started in the party. I know when I first got started in Michigan, there was a sense of civility between the Republicans and the Democrats. Today, you don't see that. You see, each one is trying to, these are the organizational people, each one is trying to make the other one into a nasty person. And I think there's unfortunately too much of that. But you can't just step back and say, unfortunately, there's too much of that. So I would encourage the young men and young women I talk to get involved and make a difference and not go in there. I mean, you don't see Senator Levin and Senator Stabenow into that nastiness. So we do have elected people. And my state representative, former state representative Jack Maynard, is not one of those, in-your-face, nasty kind of people. So everybody isn't that way, but does seem to be a lack of appreciation for the other person's differing point of view. This whole fight over the filibuster was just a lot of in-your-face kind of posturing. That doesn't bode well. When people can't reason together, even if they disagree, I think it does not bode well. So that does worry me, but that's all the more reason for young people to get involved and say enough's enough. We can do it in a more civil way.
Do you reflect on why that's the case? What has caused that kind of change? The sharper edges, the more abrasiveness.
Well, I've thought about it, and I'm not sure I have an answer. I do know that that people have found that if they're nasty in campaigns, sometimes and negative against the person they're running against, that they're more likely to win. Even though citizens say they don't like it, the posters say it works. Right? It works, so that maybe that gets carried into elective office. There's something, maybe we're in an era where we think we can do things alone. We've forgotten that we need to work together as communities to make a difference. I'm not a sociologist, so I'm not sure I really know the causes of it. but I have watched it evolve, and I've watched this country in terms of its its ideals sort of split. Where we used to, I know U.S. Senator Al Simpson, who was a Republican out of Wyoming, said he got out because he could no longer tolerate the desire on his party, the Republican Party, to be winners and to win 100% of the time, that they didn't understand anymore the art of compromise and give and take. But I don't want to blame that just on one party. It's easier as a Democrat to do that. But so you see a lot more of that. And I would hope that as the young people get involved, they'll say, no, we're not going to work that way. We're going to go back to the concept that we work together, and that's how we make progress, not by screaming at each other and being nasty to each other.
How many governors have you been in Michigan during your activity?
Well, there was
activism.
Governor Romney, Governor Swainson, who came after Swainson, Milliken, and then Blanchard, and then Engler. And Governor Engler, for me, was a symbol of the nastiness. I realize you shouldn't speak that way about a governor, but I found him I think I even coined the phrase mean-spirited governor. And that was the way he functioned, was power. And I don't think you can win in the short term that way, but I think in the long term, everybody loses. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the problems that Governor Granholm is dealing with today is some of the kinds of things that Governor Engler did when he was governor. And he won temporarily, but in the end, we're all losing.
Can you compare and contrast his style with Swainson, or Romney?
Or Milliken more.
Or Milliken
was someone that reached out to people that he didn't agree with and tried to convince, or would ULIM were probably in the legislature when he was there, but my sense was he was more a way to figure out how he could get everybody to agree and then move on. Although he was not adverse to, if he had the votes and he thought something was right, to moving on. But he wasn't one that, like Governor Engler, that said, this is the way it's going to be and I don't want any argument and that's it.
It is interesting to reflect on Governor Milliken, because he, at the time, or for a period of his service, he served with
Romney, wasn't he under?
Well, he was lieutenant governor,
right.
But under Romney. But he had served with a very strong and active Democratic
right, with a strong speakers,
House
yeah,
and speaker,
right.
So he certainly had to
right.
deal with, but
right.
they were willing to deal with each other.
And so the Democrats were willing to deal, and he was willing to deal. Right. So it was a dialogue.
But in the current Granholm relationship, Governor Granholm with the legislature, that willingness to sit down and work out the problem
is not there.
It doesn't seem to be as
right.
as apparent.
Yeah, and in this instance, I would say that most of the time I watch the governor willingness to, to offer something and then talk about it, with the Republican leadership saying, no, it's not going to be that way. There are some occasions when they have right. actually worked on things together, but that's true. That each body is different than